Ever wondered what would have happened if Thanos didn't lose his head in the first 20 minutes of Avengers Endgame? Let's imagine a movie where Thanos didn't die. How would that change the movie? What would that mean for the story in the final battle? Well, that's what I'm going to explore in this video. Let's talk about why Thanos shouldn't have been killed off so early and how this would have affected the movie. The final battle of Avengers Endgame was the big culmination of over a decade of storytelling. This was the moment where all the MCU heroes clashed with Thanos, the biggest villain of the story. The only issue here is that it was the wrong Thanos. Let me explain. Ever since 2012's The Avengers, the MCU has been setting Thanos up as the big bad of the story. And when we finally got to Infinity War, Thanos didn't disappoint. In just one movie, he became one of the best villains in movie history. And then he died in the first 20 minutes of Endgame. And that's my problem. When we got to the final battle in Endgame, the heroes faced the Thanos from the past. This other Thanos never met any of the Avengers. He never fought the heroes on Titan or in Wakanda. He never wiped out half of all life in the universe. He didn't kill Gamora, Loki, or Vision. Beyond Gamora and Nebula, he has no real emotional connection with any of the heroes. Beyond all the spectacle and great moments, there was a clear lack of connection between the heroes and the big villain. In a way, the heroes fought a total stranger. This Mad Titan didn't experience any of the things that Thanos had in Infinity War. So, while he is a Thanos, he's not the Thanos. Take this scene, for example.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
Thanos' reaction to Wanda's rage should have been emotional. He killed her lover, and now he's gonna face the consequences of his actions. Instead, Wanda is mad at a Thanos who doesn't even know who she is or why she's mad at him. Kinda defeats the whole point. There's no real closure to the things that happened between Thanos and the other characters in Infinity War. The 2018 Thanos was such a fascinating character. He had his own complete arc, and there was so much depth and complexity in his story. I actually felt Thanos' pain when he sacrificed Gamora. I'm confident that having the 2018 Thanos in the movie would have made everything so much better. This is the Endgame after all. This is the moment where the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe has been building towards for over a decade. And to make it all work, you need the big bad that you've been building for years. Thanos' death in the first 20 minutes of Endgame was shocking for sure, but after rewatching Endgame an unhealthy amount of times, I don't see much point in killing Thanos that early. I can't argue with the logic of the decision since it was made by much smarter and much more creative people than me, but I still think that it was a mistake to kill off Thanos so soon. And so I propose this. What if Thanos wasn't killed at the start of Endgame? What if instead he was taken prisoner? Then we would have the Thanos we all know and love clash with the heroes in the climax of the movie. Okay, so the first obvious change to Avengers Endgame will be that Thor didn't kill Thanos. Instead, the heroes will take Thanos back to Earth and throw him into a cell. The prison will be strong enough to hold Thanos. It could be made from vibranium, or maybe a cell that was designed to hold the Hulk. And so, 5 years go by and Thanos is in prison. With Thanos in a cell, most of the first hour of the movie would have stayed the same. With him in prison, we could see his reaction to the snap and everything that happened after. Thanos would be facing the consequences of his actions. The 2014 Thanos wanted to wipe out the whole universe and create a new and better one. Honestly, I think that this motivation actually makes sense. It's a more logical plan than wiping out half of all life in the universe because of overpopulation and limited resources. There is something very interesting about this new motivation. This depressing realization by Thanos that his life's work was for nothing and the only way to achieve his perfect universe is to wipe the slate clean, destroy the whole universe and start a new one.
You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
And this new plan would have been presented much better if it came from the Thanos we all know and love. The 2018 Thanos was the one that wiped out half of all life. He was the one that sacrificed, well, murdered Gamora to achieve his goal. But after 5 years in a cell, unable to think about anything else but his life's work, Thanos will realize that the universe is doomed and no amount of balancing will fix it. Thanos will never be able to rest and watch the sun rise on a grateful universe because the universe will never be grateful. The 50% that survived the decimation will never be able to let the past go. Thanos is a megalomaniac who believes that he is the only one that is able to see the truth, the only path forward.
I'm the only one who knows that. At least I'm the only one with the will to act on it.
No one else can see it, so no one else deserves to exist anymore. So he must snap his fingers again to finally create a grateful universe. This new universe will satisfy his obsession and god complex. It's some really deep stuff if I do say so myself, and it would have worked so well if Thanos didn't die so early. Beyond that, we could have gotten a wonderful scene that would have included Thanos, Iron Man, and Captain America. I was always disappointed that we never had a conversation between Thanos and Iron Man or Captain America. Sure, we saw Thanos talk with Iron Man during their fight on Titan, but that was way too brief. Not to mention the fact that Steve Rogers and Thanos didn't interact at all beyond a few punches. And okay, 2014 Thanos did talk with Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor right before the big battle in Endgame. But as we established, that's the wrong Thanos. This movie needed a good ideological exchange between Thanos, Tony Stark, and Steve Rogers. All three of them have very conflicting ideologies, but all of them think that their perspective is what's best for the world. Tony and Thanos have so many parallels, something that naturally creates a fantastic interaction. But the extreme contrast between Steve and Thanos would have made such an amazing clash of ideals and beliefs. But this conversation wouldn't be there just for the ideological clash. It would also set the plot into motion. Tony Stark is a pretty reactionary guy, and Thanos is a very smart Titan, and he can manipulate people with just his words. So, one thing will lead to the other, and Thanos will agitate Tony to the point that he will let slip that the Avengers found a way to bring back all the dusted. Once Thanos learns that his life's work might be undone, he will surely do all in his power to stop that from happening. So, as the Avengers will go back in time to collect the Infinity Stones, Thanos will break out of his cell. And yeah, Thanos might never be the same after what the devastating cosmic energy did to his body. Thanos is an eternal deviant hybrid and a mutant. His physiology makes him extremely durable and powerful, so I'm pretty sure he could find a way to escape his prison, even if it's made of vibranium. But of course, before the final battle can begin, Thanos will need his army. Remember Sanctuary 2, Thanos' massive warship? The 2014 Thanos brought his ship to 2023 for the big battle. However, let's not forget that the ship we saw in Infinity War is still present in the current timeline. We never really found out what happened to the 2018 Sanctuary 2. Thanos spent some time there with Gamora before taking her to Vormir. It was never confirmed if the ship was destroyed, so it's likely that Sanctuary 2 is still out there, somewhere in the vastness of space. Meaning that in 2023, Thanos could find a way to contact his minions on Sanctuary 2 and bring the ship to Earth for the final battle. Maybe this would have been a good opportunity to introduce Supergiant. She's a member of the Black Order in the comics. Supergiant is a very powerful telepath that can control minds, which is always helpful. Plus, it'd be nice to see a couple of distinct characters out of Thanos' army. Oh, and speaking of CGI armies, while many of the Outriders were killed off during the Battle of Wakanda, surely the ship carries thousands of other alien baddies. And so, by the time the Avengers return from the time heist, Sanctuary 2 will be in place for the battle. The other issue I had with the final battle was the fact that at times it was unclear what exactly the heroes tried to achieve. They first tried to just kill Thanos. Then it became a game of catch, as everyone tried to get their hands on the Infinity Gauntlet. Then suddenly it was about throwing the stones into the quantum tunnel, which I guess somehow would have sent Thanos and his army back in time as well. And finally, it was about just stopping Thanos from doing the snap. Instead, with the changes I've made to Endgame, the motivation for the final battle would be simply to prevent another snap. Thanos would try to get his hands on the gauntlet, while the heroes would do all in their power to stop that from happening. While it does feel like a rehash of Infinity War in a way, I do think that simplifying the motivations would have made the battle flow much better, and the rest of the battle would have been mostly the same. In the end, Iron Man would still do the snap, and finally dust and kill Thanos for good. But this would be Thanos' one and only death in the movie, and that might have made that death a lot more powerful and impactful. But imagine this moment, when Thanos finally gets the stones, he's about to do the snap, but then he sees Gamora. The shock of seeing her makes him stop, and Tony Stark uses that moment to steal the stones from Thanos and snap his fingers. You gotta admit, this would have been a fantastic emotional moment. Okay, let me address the elephant in the room. During the time heist, Nebula was captured in 2014, and that's how the Thanos from the past traveled to the present. So let's fix that part quickly to work with this version of Endgame. Let's say Nebula was captured by the 2014 Thanos, just like in the original movie, but she would escape. In Endgame, Nebula was able to convince Gamora to help her, so the same could happen here. The two sisters could team up in the 2014 timeline, Nebula will kill her younger self, and then she will take Gamora to 2023. There, problem solved. Now let me finish on this. I know it kind of sounds like I'm hating on Avengers Endgame, but I really don't hate that movie. I love the movie, and I think it's an amazing achievement. All of this is just something that could have made an already great movie even better. So, what do you think about all this? Do you think Thanos should have lived longer?